Welcome to Season 7 of the Excel Still More podcast. I am your host, Chris Emerson, and I am here to encourage you in your faith and help you strengthen your relationships. Today's episode is sponsored by the Cunningham Financial Group. John Cunningham can assist you in a wide variety of your financial planning needs. You can call him today at 205-326-7364. Thank you so much for listening in today. Let's get started. Good morning. Welcome to the Excel Still More podcast. It's a real joy, once again, to get to share some things with you, I hope, that are a big encouragement to you. Today's content came as a surprise to me. I was just sitting on the couch scrolling through a few reels, and I came across this guy that I follow named Yair, and I may have mentioned him before. I almost think we did an episode on some of his interviews previously, at least I had intended to do, but his game is really simple. He's on the West Coast, along a boardwalk, on the water, and he just interviews older people. He asks them questions about their life and relationships and health, and I don't know how many I've been through. I get kind of addicted to it. There's some commonalities in their answers, and I find it all super applicable no matter your age. But I listened to two in particular, a very short interview with a guy who is 89 years old, tall, slender fella, gray hair, and another guy who's 82 years old, who's also nice and fit, a little shorter. He's got jet black hair that he says is natural, and they both just seem like really nice, likable guys, and he asked them similar questions, and while I went through a handful of the reels, these two and the way they paired up just really was impressive to me. These guys look to be aging with style, and I wanted a little bit of what they were having, and so I'd like to share some of their insights with you. The interviewer opens after asking their ages with the same question. What's the secret? You guys are in your 80s. You both seem to feel pretty good and look pretty good. You're smiling. You're out here walking on a sunny day along the boardwalk. What's the secret? And they both gave the same answer. The 89-year-old gentleman said, I go to the gym 3 days a week. You just have to keep moving. You cannot sit around and do nothing. The 82-year-old gave the same answer, just in simpler form. He said, a lot of exercise. Now, I'll make you a deal here. I promise not to fill the entire episode talking about walking or jogging or getting in the gym if you will give me at least a little handful of minutes here on the front end. I remember one of the first episodes I recorded in 2019. It was within the first dozen or so, called Motion is Lotion. I just recently visited a gentleman who was a member of the local church here in Lindale. He was 80 years old, recovering from a procedure, and the day that I got there, his physical therapist had gotten there and was trying to get him up, walking around. He really did not want to do it. And the man said, this is your lifeline. Motion is lotion. It will do more for you than anything else. I went home and recorded an episode the next day, and I've never really forgotten that basic idea. Our bodies are designed by God to be mobile, to be used, to take us places so that we can experience things and interact with people. It's built with a measure of health. Life is not always fair. Things don't always work out evenly among everyone. But as a rule, we generally are given a measure of health, which lasts for a length of time, and then we move on from this life. What we want to try to minimize is some huge gap between health and flourishing and moving on from this life. For some people, there are massive stretches of months or years or decades where they just don't feel well, where their bodies are deteriorating, where they may be even largely overweight, and things are very hard for them. Please understand, I said it already, I understand there are environmental factors and other things that happen that are out of our control, but there are a great many things within our control. And here's one thing that I know you can control. You can control 30 minutes a day. I refuse to believe that we cannot block out 1/2 of 1 hour each day to move, to take a walk, to shoot some hoops with the kids, to try this interesting little thing called pickleball. These two men and their stories are not unique. There's a gentleman I worship with, Eugene McClenny, mid-90s, still getting around kind of amazingly, drives himself around, all of this. He said, Chris, before I even get out of bed in the morning, I do stretches and exercises in my bed. Like that's the first thing he does. And he goes to a local gym a few days a week and he does some things that help build on that. I don't want to throw a Dave Ramsey at you here. We're not talking about money, but he says you got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think more people need to decide, look, I don't want to have this massive gap from now until my life is over where I just don't feel like I can experience the joys of this life. Of course, this requires discipline, doesn't it? It requires a lot of the things we've talked about through many episodes of visualizing yourself 1 year from now better than you've been in years, and then getting up every day and incrementally half an hour a day, something like that, moving in that direction. If not, why not? You might say, well, I'm so far gone. I just am at such a point where I don't think I can do anything. I promise you can. Any kind of movement that you put together, there are a plethora of stories. Just YouTube that, of people who made a big difference. Somebody says, I just don't have the time. Well, this is about time. This is a discussion about time. These guys are 82 and 89, out enjoying the sunlight. Time is a factor here, but you have to make sacrifices in the short term so that you can elongate the joy and ability for years to come. It reminds me of those old threatening ads about one cigarette takes 5 minutes off the end of your life, but nobody thinks about the end of their life, so they smoke the cigarette. Well, when it comes to motion is lotion or getting exercise or moving, it may be a lot bigger than that. It's kind of interesting. About a day before I saw these reels, I heard a doctor on a podcast talk about women and exercise and the relationship to dementia. And what he said seemed so unbelievable that I did not believe it, but I've done a little bit of research since then. I'm looking at it right now, a press release from a study in Sweden in 2018, studying women, and it said the following: physically fit women nearly 90% less likely to develop dementia. These are not small things. You don't get 5 minutes on the end of your life if you take a walk today. By being physically fit, by moving, by disciplining your body, which is a spiritual concept, to discipline our body and make it a vessel for God, you can create massive differences in the outcome. I mean, think about that. Physically fit women, 90% less likely to develop dementia. The chart says this: physical level on test. If high, dementia risk, 5%. If medium, dementia risk, 25%. If low, 32%. And it moves higher likelihood with lower discipline time, exercising and moving your body. And this ties in a little bit to another thing people say, well, I just don't have the money to join a gym or to get the supplies that I need or to give up the earning of money to go and physically be more active. You want to talk about costs? What is the cost of a disease like dementia? What is the cost of heart disease and cancer and other things if they're in that category that is preventable? And how about this? What would you pay in your 70s or 80s if you could take a drug that would reduce your symptoms of dementia by 90%? Or that you would even have it at all? How much would you pay for that? We would find the money for that. And these guys are like, look, how about some walking shoes? They don't cost near as much. They improve your quality of life and your daily experiences now and prevent things in the future. For you or me, it might be the cost of a monthly gym membership or a few hours of overtime you don't log in. Small costs now, large savings later. So again, I promise I'm not going to make the whole episode about fitness, but please start moving. Find some motivation, find a reason. Some people are motivated by fear. I don't want to have those last years be awful. Some people are motivated by present pain. I don't want to live like this anymore. Some people are motivated by positive things like, man, my life is really good, and I would love to feel this way for a long, long time. Find what you need and get moving. I think, just to add something, one of the gentlemen said, somebody would talk about work. I just have so much going on my job and responsibilities and earning income. And, I can't just set all that aside to go shoot hoops with my kiddo. Well, you can, and you probably should. More on that in a minute. But one of the guys, when he was asked about things he would tell himself if he could go back and tell his younger self something, this guy answered in a way that was consistent with a whole bunch of people that this fella interviews. And he said, work. He said, I worked too long, too much. I had a 40-hour-a-week job. I would work 50 to 55 hours. I cannot tell you how many of these people said, I wish I had, as this man said, a better balance of work and life and family. Some of what I'm talking about here is looking forward in your life a certain number of years and deciding, hey, if I'm still alive and I'm still around people that I love, what do I want those experiences to be like? And then you back up to now and say, what am I doing for that? And where is all my attention going if it's not going to that? And for a lot of us, it's work and career. And I've heard so many things said about that, how easily those jobs can be lost, or you can be replaced, or you can lose what you gain from them. Work is a natural, necessary part of life, but only in the sense that it services greater things. It services more important relationships. And I've got to say, I've been preaching over half my life. I've been in a lot of hospice environments. I've sat with a great many people at the end of their lives, and many of them have wanted to talk about work, but their message has always been the same. Too much of it. Too much time away from home. I've yet to meet with anyone who says, I really wish I'd have been out of town on work trips a little more often. Or the legacy that I left at work could have used a bit more effort. They don't say that. They talk about the sacrifice. Maybe their health, but more often, their family. And I really would today like to tie almost all of this to the people that you love. Why feel good, be fit? What's the benefit of that? I mean, there are great spiritual answers like go out and preach the gospel and encourage Christians, but your day-to-day experiences are going to be with the people that you love. Why work less? Just so I can exercise? No, there's a greater benefit, and as is usually the case, it is relationships. Let me tell you a couple of the things the guys said. They went different directions with family, and I thought it was really beautiful when you put it together. The guy who was 82 with the dark hair, hey, what's the secret to looking 82? He said a lot of exercise, and then he said, and I'm still in love with my wife. And I just kind of fell in love with that statement and the smile on his face when he said it. The combination of I'm trying to take care of my body, and I'm getting to spend time with this person that I love. He said this, the combination of being relatively happy and not burdened by all sorts of sicknesses must exist. Now, again, I know what someone listening is thinking. They're saying, my marriage and home life isn't that great, and I've got genetic issues and things that are outside of my control. Look, okay, your story won't be the same as his story, but you got to admit, it's awesome. He is an extreme case, a guy in his 80s, in love with his wife, and feeling great. But there's an opposite end of that spectrum, miserable home life, sedentary life, and waiting to die. You are not there. You're somewhere in between the two. I'm asking you which way you'd like for this thing to go, because you still have power to make it move, to invest more time in your marriage, in your home, with the people that you love, and set aside time to be as capable as you possibly can to service and support them. And this family dynamic can extend beyond marriage. The 89-year-old gentleman surprised me. He also got asked about what he would tell himself when he was younger, and he said, don't get focused on too many things out there. Money, it's not going to pay off. He said, just pour yourself into your family and your friends. And being 89, the fella interviewing him knew he'd lost people in his life, and he said, who have you lost that you missed the most? And this gentleman, it just hit me, 89, he said, my mom. My mom and I were so close. And the guy said, what did you miss most about your mom? And he said, when I was little, I really liked to play sports, and she was always there cheering me on. She came to all my games. She was a big supporter. I think it's pretty amazing that he remembered that he could have gone through any part of his life, and I don't know about his life. I assume he had a family of his own, and he remembered being 12 and her coming to his ball games. And this just goes to our point about family. Yes, it's about marriage. It's not only about marriage. It's also about your mom and your dad and your siblings and your kids and your grandkids and the things that will be remembered, and not getting too busy, focused on self or others, to miss a central, beautiful focus in your life, and that is to raise up a family that knows what it means to love like Jesus. And that means time and attention. I have to say, on a personal level, I heard that on a perfect day. Today is Tuesday, March the 11th for me. I was in my room this morning thinking through what I was going to put into this podcast, and Summer walks in and she says, tomorrow is Ella's birthday. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. I was pretty sure I remembered that. And she said, look, you don't have to go or anything, but tomorrow at lunch, we're going to go to her favorite restaurant in Tyler, and she wants to go see a movie. And I was like, what movie? And it was, some cartoon or something. And she said, you don't have to go. I know you're really busy. You have a lot you're prepping for, and maybe you can just be home by 5 o'clock and we'll have a dinner with everybody, Hannah and Braden and Luke and all of them. And what immediately hit me was how much I have going on this week. The way I've really carefully structured the week to space things out so that I don't get stressed out. But when you space things out, that means you have to accomplish those 2 or 3 significant things every day. And Wednesday was all booked out. And then I thought about an 89-year-old man tearing up, talking about his mom coming to his ball games. And I thought, no. And so I said, babe, I'm going. She's like, how are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to go to work today and move things around and do the things today that I was going to do tomorrow that have to be done before Bible class, and just started restructuring things. And so, Lord willing, that's the plan tomorrow, is just be with my 12-year-old daughter. And maybe 75 years from now, someone will ask her what she cherishes most in her life, and maybe she'll remember her mom and dad taking her out to lunch on her birthday. One more thing, the 89-year-old was asked, what truth about life do you wish more people understood? And I believe it was the 82-year-old who mentioned not spending so much time in work and all that. And all the older gentleman said was just being honest. If you try to deceive people, it will not work out well for you or anyone. And I thought that might be a good way to close this slightly shorter episode today is be honest. Be honest with yourself about where you are and why. Why you've been doing what you've been doing, good or bad. Where is God in it? Is it time to be honest about what needs to change? Secondly, be honest with your family. Be absolutely transparent with your spouse, parents, or kids about your needs, your life, your hopes, your love, your joy, and maybe even your struggles. Be honest with God and be a person of integrity, and others will be drawn to you. It doesn't demand perfection, this life. You don't have to be killing it, doing it all right for people to go, that's somebody I respect. People respect someone who is honest, but not in a self-pity, always honest about how awful they are way, but someone who is honest with intentionality, upfront and clear about the way things are because they know that's a huge step in and of itself in the right direction of not only doing better, but doing better hand in hand with people who support you and who you have the privilege of supporting. Please be optimistic. Whatever your age or circumstances, if you have time, then you have it, and you may have more than you think. I saw a short interview recently with a woman who approached a kind of self-help guy, and she said, I'm 49, I'm starting over. He's like, you're 49. You have so many years left. True or not, that mentality put a big smile on her face, and more than likely it is true. Be hopeful and optimistic. Say a prayer to God today. Visualize a future that puts a smile on your face. Go for a walk with someone you love if you can. Invest in your family. Be completely honest and filled with integrity, because this aging thing is not going away no matter what we do, but maybe with just a few slight adjustments, like listening to 2 really happy-looking gentlemen in their 80s, we can make just the right kind of adjustments. Because look, aging is a thing. It's happening even while you're listening. It's happening even as I am recording this. So let's embrace it optimistically and do everything in our power to age with style. Thank you for joining in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and share it with a friend. Speaking of friends, I just want to thank once again Tyler Cain and Statewide Mortgage for sponsoring this podcast. If you have any home mortgage needs, you can reach Tyler today at 813-380-8487. And always remember, whatever you do in the name of Jesus Christ, excel still more.